Well, that's more like it. What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas back with you for another edition of the Florida Forecast here, and we are going to talk about the best weather of the year, arguably setting into Central Florida, South Florida, North Florida, at least for a short time anyway. We're going to talk about that, but rain, of course, is going to return now. We talked about El Nino's effect continuing right on into spring, and we're not going to get this sunshine for long, but we are going to keep things pretty warm. Mentioned this with the next system coming through, we are going to see more ups and downs. So, unless your weather app, this is a secret here, unless your weather app is maintained by an actual meteorologist and not a computer, there's going to be a lot of crazy bad forecasts coming your way because the computer is going to be all over the place. Most of those apps, unless you have the Pinpoint weather app from News 6, is generated by a computer. It's going to be all over the place. Watch that over the next few days, and you will see what I'm talking about. But we're going to talk about these ups and downs. If you want to stay updated on all things Florida weather, you have to hit subscribe. Please do that. Give it a thumbs up if you happen to find this content helpful, and I hope you do. All right, so here's why we're so warm. This nice big chunk of high pressure that is continuing to work its way from the Pacific. This is where it was yesterday, and I wanted to put that H there to show you where it was. And now you see that clockwise flow right there over the Bay of Campeche and over the Yucatan Peninsula. That is where our big upper high is, and that is kind of pushing everything back up to the north, and that is allowing all of the warmth to build across the extreme southern Gulf, well, North Gulf Coast and into Florida, and then a lot of the Caribbean. So that's what's going to stay here for the next few days. And you see that orange color? This really doesn't move too much. This is where it goes on Friday, March 1st, still encompassing a lot. Note towards the banner where it says upper level pattern, there's where all the crazy cold is. It's way up here. So all winter is, staying away. We are going to get a little cold shot here on Thursday. But nonetheless, it retreats very, very quickly, and we get some of our warmth back. We'll get into that part coming up, and also your pinpoint forecast for North Florida, Central Florida, and into South Florida. So we're going to fast forward to Thursday when our weather turns a little more active again, and this is another cold front right on through here. It kind of gets hung up. So it really doesn't blast through. You will see a difference in temperature between North Florida and South Florida, I guess as you typically do, but there's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff between where we get 60s back and where the 70s and 80s continue to hang on. But there's Saturday at 7 o'clock, and that front kind of gets hung up again. And we do this thing that we've been doing a lot since fall, where that front gets hung up and we get a little blob, so to speak. We get that juice to develop in the Western Gulf and then use that to work its way over. There's going to be uncertainty. I don't think this is going to ruin your entire weekend by any means, but we are going to be watching this for rain to come back into the forecast, and you see it here, and it's still around, and it's still around. There's Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and we still keep that. So once we get back into Friday, and then especially Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're going to turn things unsettled again. So this nice little weather pattern that we've gotten ourselves into, that is typical for most of the winter, but has been crazy different. We told you about that because of El Nino. It's coming back. There we go. That's 7 o'clock on February 28th. That is going to be on Wednesday morning. A nice morning coming our way. We have the warmth continue. We're going to fast forward out to Leap Day, February 29th, and this is what I'm talking about. And we're going to go into a little more detail as this comes on through, but I just want to kind of give you a heads up that depending upon what part of Florida you're in, and certainly if you're driving around the state getting into the weekend, the weather's going to be vastly different. And this is what I mean by that. So this is February 29th again. Look at that, 59 in Pensacola, 65 in Tallahassee, 60 in Jacksonville. Meanwhile, we're still hanging on to the upper 60s and low 70s. Meanwhile, in South Florida, Fort Myers into Miami, we're still hanging around 80 degrees. So there's going to be a lot of change depending upon where you're at in the state of Florida. And again, I know that's typical for it to be warm in the south and cooler in the north, but there's going to be a front here really helping to maximize that, and that front's going to be hanging right on through here, as my poor illustration is drawn. All right, so on to your pinpoint forecast, and this is when the changes start to try to sneak in anyway. So this is going to be for North Florida. Let me get my big head out of the way. I have it kind of off the screen there so that we could fit as many towns in and many cities in for you guys. Pensacola, we're going to be at 77. Our clouds start to increase. Bonifay pushing 80. Tallahassee around 80. A little more sunshine the further south and east you get. So Lake City will be around 80 with a little more sunshine. Cedar Key, our influence with the wind out of the south It's a little cooler still off the relatively cooler Gulf. We're back to the upper 60s. St. Augustine, very nice. We are pushing 80 degrees tomorrow. Ocala, we're at 83. 83 as well, a very warm day in Central Florida. We're at 84 at the Cape again. The water, 84 in Orlando, I should say, at the Cape. Again, that influence of the relatively cooler water, that ocean breeze every now and then, keeping our temperatures in the 70s. Still very warm. St. Pete Beach, we're in the mid-70s. 84 for us in Lakeland, Vero Beach. What's going on? We are at 82 degrees. Another very warm day again for South Florida, as you might imagine. We're at 84 in Belglade, 84 in Okeechobee, Fort Myers. We're in the low 80s, 78 Miami. We are at 80 degrees in Fort Lauderdale. A very warm afternoon coming down the pipeline. But again, changes are coming as we keep things unsettled. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have found this video helpful, and I hope you did, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to stay updated on what could be an active end of winter and start of spring, hit that subscribe button. And of course, we got you covered all the way through hurricane season across the state of Florida, with none of that garbage that you might find out there as well. We're not going to scare anybody. We're not going to do anything for clicks. We're going to break it down with science and meteorology. If you've been around, you know that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. And again, we'll catch you next time.